It's time to start, right? Welcome, everyone, to this presentation from CNPS, Santa Clara Valley Chapter. CNPS is the California Native Plant Society. Our talk tonight is taking close-up plant ID pictures with an iPhone, and our member Dee Himes is the speaker. And CNPS is a nonprofit environmental organization. It was founded in 1965, and we have chapters all over the state and into Baja California, which is still part of our California floristic province. Our chapter covers Santa Clara County and part of southern San Mateo County. The CNPS mission is to save California's native plants and habitats, and it brings together science, education, conservation, and gardening to power the native plant movement. So we have places for many different types of interests in native plants. We encourage you to join CNPS. You're supporting a wonderful environmental movement with your membership. And with your membership, you get subscriptions to two great journals with fantastic articles and incredible plant photos. You also get to specify a chapter, and if you are part of our chapter, we have the Blazing Star chapter newsletter. There's some discounts at local nurseries and more. So you can just go on the internet and find out about joining at www.cnps.org/join. It's right there. We have a lot more talks coming up. Next week on Wednesday evening, we have one of our garden talks. Radhika Thekath will be talking about getting started with native plants. And the following Wednesday, we'll have a talk about succulents from Paul Heipel, who is a succulent expert and a very accomplished gardener of native succulents. And on March 17th, we have Saving Wildflowers, How to Be a More Effective Rare Plant Advocate by Dr. Tim Krantz. And there's more talks coming. We typically have a talk every week. Most of our talks are on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. And if you can't make a talk, they are all recorded on our YouTube channel. And the address is right there, and I think Arvin's going to put it into the chat. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It makes it easier to find them. And in addition to the talks, we also once a month on the Friday, the fourth Friday of the month, we have photo group where people get together to share their photos and talk about how they did them. But it's a great place to go and get a fix on beautiful pictures of our native plants. Our nursery is continuing to operate despite the pandemic. We have online ordering. You can either pick plants up at the nursery or have them delivered to your house. And there's sale plants and a free Dudleya with every order in February. So just a few days left for that offer. So get cracking. And this is our major fundraiser for the activities of our chapter, which includes scholarships and conservation and other and support of educational activities. We have some of the GNG t-shirts available. We have our native plants garden signs for your garden and more things available, books in addition to the plants. So check in to our Square site to see what we have available. And the best way to keep up to date on all of our info is to join our mailing list. We send out announcements only once a week. And to join it, you send an email to the subscribe address, which is on the screen there, and you will not miss info on a talk or an event if you join our news group, our news mailing list. So we have gone to a totally virtual environment for sending out talks, for getting talks out to the public. And we have a whole team of people who work on this to ensure a smooth experience. Tonight, Vivian New is our tech person. I am the host, and I will be also being the Q&A moderator. And we also have a Zoom co-host, which is a behind-the-scenes helper. And tonight, Arvind Kumar is our Zoom co-host. And you don't have to be a real techie to do this. You simply need to be able to use a keyboard, a mouse, be able to switch windows and copy and paste between windows. So if you'd be interested in becoming part of the team, you can send email to me or to Johanna Kwan, and our emails are on the screen. And that's all the announcements we have, and now I'd like to introduce our speaker tonight. Wait, did I stop sharing? Oops.
Yeah, you stop sharing.
Okay.
So you want me to?
Nope, sorry. I would like to introduce our speaker tonight, Dee Himes. Dee is a plant photographer extraordinaire. She's been a CNPS member since the early 2000s, and she's served as our chapter treasurer as well as our field trip chair. She's currently serving on both the state CNPS board and our chapter's board of directors. Dee has a passion for horticulture and photography and combines this love by photographing plants in her natural environment. And if you've seen her photos, they're swoon worthy. So, with no further ado, I present Dee.
So, let's see. Good evening, everyone. Let me
Excuse me 1 second, Dee. I forgot to say something. We will have question and answer after the talk, right, Dee? And the way that we
yes.
do that is please put your questions in the chat, and you can put them in the chat if you're in Zoom or in YouTube, and we will get those questions to Dee. Thank you. Okay, it's all yours.
All right, I'm trying to figure out if I've got the right. Am I in the right?
I see the ōlloclip, yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me for me to share my discovery of using the iPhone camera with the ōlloclip. So what started all this was well, I want to first make a disclaimer that I get nothing from the ōlloclip people. Just to make sure. And what started me using the iPhone camera to take these, I find it extraordinary in terms of quality as well as perspective of plants and the landscape. And so this picture was taken in 2017. It was published in Manzanita magazine from the East Bay, from the Tilden Botanical Parks. This was at Maury Point, and it was taken with my iPhone 6 Plus, uncropped, and this was with without the ōlloclip. This is just a plain without the ōlloclip. And then my next picture also got published in with the using the iPhone 6 Plus for the Manzanita magazine for a front cover. So the quality, I find that it can be used for publishing. So that started me of learning how to use the camera with the ōlloclip when I discovered the ōlloclip when I was at the Apple store, when I got my new iPhone 8. So this lecture is more about how in the world can I get a good picture from my phone camera. Mainly it's on the iPhone. I'll be talking about I don't own any other phone, and I don't own any other type of lens clip except for the ōlloclip. Just want to clarify that. And so we've always been point and shooting on the iPhone, and the question is, why is it not focused? It's blurry. Is it too close? And it's blurry. Is it not close enough? Then you can't really see the picture. And then where's the focal point? The picture is just a lot of things going on. Is it too bright? Is it too dark? So there's a lot of things going on when you're taking a picture. And what do you do? And what's the goal of this presentation is to understand that you have to hold the camera steady, and you got to get the right the focus right, and also composing your pictures with some thought, thinking about the background and the foreground, and also do you want to think about the minimal look, as little background as possible, or try something a bit more chaotic. So it's a lot of experimenting and figuring out what kind of story you want to tell with your picture. And that is in line with also telling the story of the plant ID, of understanding the anatomy of the plant, and you're taking a close-up angle of that. You can also try unusual angles to take a picture and see different perspective. Look for an ordinary view of what you're looking at. So here is a scene that's in our garden. And then there's more things to understand, as well as getting the right lighting. What kind of lighting are you thinking of? A silhouette? Is it a striking silhouette? You want back lighting, front lighting, close-up foreground interests, using different lens, macros, fisheye, and super wide angles. So there are limitations of using your camera phone or your iPhone. Is that my number one rule is do not use the zoom lens from the camera phone. And the reason is that this is the quality that I get when I do a 10 zoom on my iPhone without the ōlloclip. This is the quality I get. And this is just not possible to use for publishing, or even looking at a detail of the plant. So here's another frame that I shot. It's even more blurry. And this one is a little better because I focused a little bit better. And also because when you're using the zoom on your camera, your hand shakes. And when your hand shakes and it's a multiple of, the zoom is 10 plus, then your shake is 10 times more shakier than if you're not using a zoom. So it amplifies everything, the shake, the noise. And this one, I used the ōlloclip for with the super wide lens. So the comparison, you can see the difference. You can actually count. I've did a maximum crop on keynotes, and you can actually see the hairs and as well as the glands at the end of each hair. So the quality of the ōlloclip on the iPhone is far more superior than using the zoom lens on the actual camera, the built-in zoom lens on the camera. And here is another frame. This is taken with the ōlloclip, and it's zoomed onto the anthers and the stigma. You can actually see the pollen. And here I use the fisheye lens, which is a macro of 15 times magnification. And this is actually a rosemary on my neighbor's yard, and that's the anther, tip of the anther. That's at a very close up. I stick my phone right onto the phone, onto the almost like half an inch close to the anther. And here I magnified it, and you can see the quality is still pretty good for a phone camera and at such magnification. So, sorry, getting a little dry. So, how do you get these shots? So what's the pose that you for you to get the shot? So you have to hold. Sorry. So what I do is, in order to get a close-up shot, I really have to like squat down and possibly sit on the ground. Oh dear, I'm very sorry. Getting really warm. So this is a picture Kenny Hickman took of me while we were walking to Edgewood, and we saw this green butterfly. It's a green streak butterfly, and I took my camera out and I slapped on my, if you can see, I slapped on my ōlloclip, and that's how close I can get. And this is a picture of I cropped it to show you how close I was. And this is a picture. It's not as contrast, but this was taken out of my Instagram account because I couldn't find the original photo. But this is the quality I can get with the ōlloclip, and you can actually see all the fine hairs on the butterfly. Just for comparison, this is photograph on my Olympus camera with an extension, with a teleconverter extension. So just for you to understand, the quality is pretty good, but not as good as your big digital cameras. So how do you brace yourself? How do you get yourself to be steady? You know, people our age, I shake. You know, I can feel myself when I'm breathing. I can feel my hand moving. So I try to find support using my body against a tree or a fence. I use my fingers. I use my knees. I use my arms and elbows to lean against something or brace myself against something so that I can be steady and take pictures without having any shakes showing up. So you can invest in a tripod. But I usually am very impatient. Setting up something while you're hiking, it's not doable for me. I prefer to just take out my camera and start photographing. So here are a few mini, so a few photographs later, there'll be some examples, some tripods. So you can see Ken Himes there, my husband. He actually lies on the ground and takes the picture real close up because it's hard when it's that low. It's really hard to crouch down and take a good photograph. Here another picture. He's leaning against the side of the hillside to get a closer picture and more stable. And here you also have showing him tapping on the screen to focus on the photo. So I will also show you how to use the lens, how to focus and use your phone to get a better focus on your phone. and little tips and tricks on how to get really nice photographs to tell a story. So this is a picture that we took with the camera, and you can actually see the pollen on the petal itself, on the bracts actually. Those are. And this is the threaded adjutant, right? I won't go into much about what the actual plant names are, but I may have some plant names at the bottom of the corner of the slide. And here I can crop it on the keynote presentation, and it's still pretty good quality. And this is almost like 100% magnification on the slider. So this is some of the tripods I've bought, and to tell you the truth, the only time I've used these kind of things is basically on when I'm doing touristy things, like when I went to Europe and Asia, I used the selfie stick. But a lot of times those places don't let you use selfie sticks are not allowed in public places or in the museums and things. But these are some of the things you could look into. I can't remember, they're $100-ish. It's the Joby brand, which is more expensive, a little more sturdy. But this is what you can do if you need to do a tripod. And that's when it's taken apart. And I've bought multiple mini tripods, and you know, I actually don't even bring it with me out when I'm hiking. Carrying weight is an issue for me, so I try to be really lightweight. And here's a side view of a very lightweight tripod. And here's some other tripods. I got a pretty good collection, but I rarely bring it. So how do you focus on the iPhone? I noticed that when I first got the iPhone, I just I take my camera and I start photographing, and the focus on the photo is not very good quality. So what I've learned, and actually been online to look at some of the reasons why, is that you have to tap on your screen. And here's the anatomy of the iPhone. This is my new iPhone 12 Pro Max that I just got. So I'm using this, but basically it's the same as the 6, 7, and 8 and all the other ones in terms of the camera format. It's very basic. So here we have the yellow square. That is where your area of focus is. And I put a paw there. And that's where you put your finger to tap. When you tap that square, that's where your focus point is. And then this slider here with the sunshine, that's your exposure, giving more light or less light when you slide it up or down. If you slide it more lower with less light, it gives you a little more depth of field. When it's lighter, everything's a little bit more washed out. So experiment with the slider and see what kind of results you get. Here is the autofocus. This is the auto exposure and autofocus lock. So what you do is you tap on this and hold down onto the screen, and then the autofocus and auto exposure lock will show up and will light up until you finish taking the photograph. And you can actually do that by locking that and then move your camera around to see where it is actually in focus. So this is a demonstration of what, and he's tapping on the screen on the area he wants focus. Then he takes the picture. That's a screenshot of what he was focusing on. And this is a video. So there'll be several videos to show you something on ōlloclip has a video, and also at the end there's a little short video. So this is the set I got, 2017. It's the core lens set. They don't sell this anymore. They sell more extravagant stuff. And the ōlloclip website, they've published, they've put a notice that they're on hiatus right now. So they're really not open for business. But you can still find some information there. And I'm waiting for them to open up again so then I can get some new equipment from them for my iPhone 12 Pro Max. So this core set has the fisheye, the super wide, and the macro 15X. And this is the box, and it cost me like under $100 back then for this set. And then inside the panel you can see it tells you what you can do with the phone and what with the set, and what comes with the set and what you can do with it. And then on the panel here it tells you in red what the iPhone view if you don't use any of their lenses. And then when you use the super wide, you get a much more wider view of the landscape of your picture. And then the fisheye is much more wider. It has a curvature on your view, and I'll have samples of the picture of that so you can see what it looks like. So I've used the ōlloclip extensively on all my trips, and so far this is what's left of my my set. I've lost all my lens caps. I lost the fisheye, and I've broken one of the lens holder, and I put it to really good use, and this thing gets real good beating. I mean, right now it just hangs on my belt when I'm using it, and it gets, and I try to avoid not scratching it, but you know, it's what it is. So that's the super wide angle, and this is the macro lens that has the fisheye that screws on top of that macro lens. And my favorite lens is actually the super wide. I use that extensively, almost exclusively. So here's a little promo from their website on how to attach the part to your phone. So what next? Now what do we do? So when you go out and photograph, be curious. So you want to have a deeper look inside of the plant and see what's inside, what are the plant parts, and especially if you're identifying rare plants, what are the keys, what are the plant parts that differentiates other non-rare plants, and understanding that. So here is a Dutchman's pipe at our home. And front view is, this is what you'll see is the front view of the flower. But if you go above it and look inside, there's actually, if you look closely, there are dead bodies inside. They're actually fungus gnats, bodies that have trapped in there, and they are not able to fly out of it, and they eventually die of starvation, and that's what's left of them, the wings and the legs. But if you go on top and look into it, you can actually, and then tap on that area where it's inside, then you get the focus. The focusing range is right there inside the pipe, the flower, and you can see the focusing area is right here. So that's out, which is also this part of the plant. So when you have a big plant, this is a trillium, see the giant wake robin, and the plant's so big, so huge. What part of the plant you want to take the picture of? And to identify this plant as the giant wake robin is actually the inside of the plant. So if you go further in, so you can stick your lens right into it, you'll actually get a very close-up of all the flowering parts, the anthers, the stigma, etc. And then the identifying part for this species is actually this part, this purple part is the identifying part. Here it is again. So stick your camera inside and look around and shoot around and see what you get. And then this is a nice shot of the petals as well as the interior of the plant. Here we have a California poppy, and I just stuck the phone right into the flower. As you can see, the petal is almost touching the lens. So it gives this a very close-up picture, and you can see some of the background as well. And you can also catch a glimpse of the buds. And here, this is cropped at maximum with the keynotes. So it's almost, I'm not sure what percentage, but it's like, could be, what, 100%? Blow up, zoom. So also taking pictures, you want to, if you're doing ecological surveys, you've got people, you want to tell a story of people doing the survey, you can actually stick the phone in their face, so to speak. But with COVID, you probably don't want to do that anymore. But this was pre-COVID. This is Don Thomas doing a survey of Durka out in, out in, I forgot what, it's San Antonio Park, I think. And here's Ken. We're out in the Himalayas, and then we were bushwhacking through the dense forest, and he came out with all these ranunculus seeds hanging on to him. So I thought this was a good opportunity to show the seeds on his coat, on his jacket, and showing his face view as well. And here also in the Himalaya with Joe Cernak is the their maple, the giant maple, their acer. So that kind of shows you in the foreground the plant, and then you have the background of the person holding the plant. And here's Ken. He saw his plant of a lifetime, which is Lewisia stebenzii, which is a very rare plant up in the Hulls Mountain. Lighting and silhouettes and shadows, those are important on how you want to show your photograph in terms of in terms of detail. So this is the Clarkia brewei, a rare plant, and this is a top light which is taken in April around 2:30 in the afternoon. So you can tell it's top light. It's very harsh, but with a harsh light I can still have some details, because of what I've done was put the slider, the exposure was a little darker than what it automatically showed up, so it gave me more detail. And also, if you can look at the background, you can see some details on the leaves. If that's one of the identifying part of your plant. And here we have a mountain dandelion, or the native dandelion. This is taken about 45 degrees with some backlight. The sun was behind me, and the first picture I took, if you see, you can see my shadow. I've forgotten to check my shadow, and this is around 2 p.m. in May, and then I reposition myself, and then I was able to exclude my shadow. But you can see the details with the ōlloclip of using the super wide. You can actually count all the hairs on the dandelion of the on the seed. And here's a comparison with the ōlloclip super wide lens with the my Olympus camera, and you can see the difference of what you can capture. There's the control of the depth of field is a little bit harder on the iPhone, but it gives you a very nice picture in any case. Here at about in May, about late evening or early evening, about 5:46 p.m., the soap plant opens while the calochorus starts to close. That's so you can see the lighting is quite even, and you can see the blurry background, but you can see the soap plant, the anthers. You can even see the bits of pollen there. The backlighting, I like to take plants pictures with backlight a lot, because it highlights a lot of the details, especially when it's got fine hairs on the plant, the seeds, and the plant parts. Oops. This is what's it? Silk tassel. This is the seed, the fruit of the capsule of the silk tassel plant, Garrya elliptica, that is. And here's another photograph with a view further away from the plant. You see all the bubbles. I call them bubbles, and they're so cute, and it's fun to photograph these plants. And here is the this is the ōzzleberry, and you can see it back, kind of late morning sun, almost top light, but I've moved it in an angle where you can actually, the light picks up the spider web on the plant. It's quite beautiful, you know. And here is some manzanita. Again, you can see it's backlit. It picks up some of the spider webs around it, and it kind of backlit the flowers, and it kind of makes it kind of shine. Oops. And you can even see some of the fine hairs on the manzanita. So this photo is of the Solanum, I think Californicum, and this was taken like at about after 2 o'clock. The sun has already gone above me, and it's starting to go down past the midday mark. So you can see the details of the plant. It's quite nice. It's okay. You can see the background, some of the flowers. But I took another picture earlier in the morning of the same area. But if you look at the backlight, it really lights up the plant. And actually, it even shows all the bugs that are on it, the hairs on the calyx, and the pollen, and the hairs on the leaves. So choosing your lighting is very important also, so that it picks up the detail of the plants. Fritillaria is one of the harder ones to photograph, and what I try to do is take multiple pictures of the plant, starting with the outside, and then work my way towards the inside, and then I go underneath it to get the backlit so it looks like cathedral lighting. And again, backlit, the sun is in the back. And then this columbine is photographed with the ōlloclip. All of these are photographed with ōlloclips on it. And you can see, so my cell phone, my iPhone actually is white. And when the sun shines on the back of the iPhone, it actually acts like a reflector, and it sometimes lights up the inside of the flower, and that kind of gives me an added advantage. I don't like using flash because the flash is really hard to control, and it's quite harsh and very artificial. And here is a crop picture of the same flower, and you can see the detail. The quality of the lens is very good. I mean, you can see the skeletons of the aphids that they have emerged out of their end stars. So you can see the hairs on the petals. It's just amazing, I find it. Dapple light is also a good way to show plants where the lighting is not as harsh. It gives it some kind of lighting up the plant, seeing the details, but not overly exposed in some of the bright spots. Backlighting is also good to show magnificent trees. And also taking a shadow selfie of yourself. This is out in Carrizo Plain. And also taking photograph of the halo. I call it sunbow. It's when there's moisture in the clouds usually around noontime. This happens with the angle of the sun. The light reflects off of the moisture particles in the sky, and you get this halo. That's another photograph. Yeah. And here we have a typical silhouette photo. Here's Ken. We're out in where is it? Out in Indonesia, off one of the islands. So that was a great photo op. So how close can you get? You've seen before, you can get pretty close with the ōlloclip to take a very nice photograph. This is in the Himalaya. This is one of their, I forget what flower. It's one of those, I forget, blank, sorry. It's one of the most beautiful flowers out in the Himalayas.
Impatience.
Thank you, Arvin. Impatience. I'm very nervous. So this flower was almost 2 inches in length. So it was very, very beautiful. But anyway, you can see a lot of the details on the flower and the leaves itself. And this is back at Pulgus Ridge, back in California. So I was walking by the path and I saw this blue dick. It was fluttering with the wind, and then there was this pollinator on it. I said, oh, how am I going to take this? Because the flower's bouncing, moving, and it's just really hard. So it's a lot of tapping with one hand and then shooting, pressing the trigger to take the photo. So you have to take multiple frames until you are able to get a good photograph. So it's a hit and miss, but the formula is tried and true, and it's a lot of tapping and then shooting on the frame, the trigger. And here's a sequence to it. So it's not bad. You can see all the pollen on the pollinator, and then the focus. I got too close. I got greedy, and I got the head out of focus, but I got the abdomen in focus. So when you go back and forth, you have to go forward. You have to kind of lean forward, in and out, and tap, and hopefully you get a good photograph. But you can see a pollinator with the blue dick flowers, and then you can see the long stem going all the way back. And here is another pollinator photograph. It's one of the native bumblebees on a Cercis, on a Venus thistle out in, I forget, out in the East Bay. Here's a crop photo, a maximum crop on the keynote, so you can still have some details. It's pretty good. And this is with the ōlloclip as well, and I was photographing the interior of the milk, the milk, what is that plant? Arden, I'm sorry.
Milkweed.
Asclepias. Not milk thistle. Milkweed. Thank you. So, and then there's this jumping spider, Johnson's jumping spider, and it's a female, and it has a death hold on a longhorn bee, and that's again with the ōlloclip super wide, and then I was able to crop it at significant magnification. You can see all the noise. You can see all the noise, but you can actually still count the hairs if you need to count the hairs on the creature to identify it. This is pretty good. And if you can see the milkweed, the hairs on the milkweed, it's very fine. So what lens to use, and what's the angle, and what's the focal point? So you have to figure out when you're looking at the plant what you want to do. So we have the monkey flower, and every time I look at them, it's like they're singing or they're going, ah. So they're the cutest plant, and I hear that it's flowering out in Edgewood, or starting to. So I use this is the just the super wide ōlloclip, and as you can see, I missed the focus. I missed the focus on the mouse ears, and the focus is actually here. So you have to take quite a lot of photos, especially during the day when you can't see your screen too well. So I take lots and lots of photographs. This one is with the fisheye, and you can see with the fisheye you get a very good detail, very close of its anthers, but you will see distortion on the perimeter of the lens. So you only got a very small focal area. So that's one of the cons about using some of these lenses. But if you're trying to show the anthers, this is one of the better shots of it. And here I'd taken that off and I used just the super wide, and I can get closer. And again, with the super wide, different angles. Here's some more, just by trial and error, trying to get close and trying to be far, you know, just going in and out of the range to see what you can actually pick up. And here you can actually see the throat, and you can see all the interior of the plant. There's some more. So I took lots and lots, and this is a magnification on a crop photo, and it's okay, decent if you need to look at the interior, but it's not very good quality in terms of the noise on the photo. Here are some more trial and error photos. Here's looking at the interior, and some more interior, and the ears. There's actually hairs on the ears. And there's some more. So, oops. So the iPhone will give you a photo that is has highlights, and also gives you a low light. So you can choose. So what's the story on that sequence of photos? So this is what the final shot I finally picked, was to show the mouse ears in its natural habitat on Serpentine, with the background of the Central Ridge out in Edgewood Park. So it tells an ecological story, its habitat story. Here is a crop photo of it, and the quality is it's quite good. You can actually see all the fine hairs on the mouse ears. So, but there are still a lot of noise in the background. So, composition study. So when I go out and photograph, you come across a tree like this. This is a dead tree of I don't know what kind, but you can see it's totally buckshot with acorns. And this is a granary from the woodpeckers that have put in the acorns. So you want to take multiple shots to explore various angles to find a story. So I started taking photographs, you know, a straight view with the acorns. Then I move more closer, and I look up, and there's the acorn in a perspective view, and you can see a close-up acorn, and things more acorns further up or out of focus. But it kind of tells the story that there's a lot of acorns on this dead tree trunk. And then I stepped back a little bit more, and the focus was, you had a lot more depth of focus here. And then I went closer. I looked down, and that's, and there were more acorns down, but not as much as one above. Then I looked at the top of the trunk to see what was there. Interesting branching. And then I got to this photograph. This frame. This was very interesting, and I'd focus at different lengths of the trunk to see what would be interesting, and I went back. And this is my final choice. Was I did a Snapseed app, which I did it in a black and white sepia tone, so it was kind of cool. Also showing scale of the plant. You can have a human person to show scale. Got to look out for your shadows. When you get eager to take a photograph, you kind of forget some of the your own shadow. And you have Ken here as the model to show this is one of a very large big berry manzanita. This is out in Henry Coe Park. State Park. And here's some more scale. You can also if you have a pen or a measurement, you can also put one beside your sample. This is a a banana slug with spots on it. This is a Himalaya slug. I didn't have a scale, so you can't quite tell how big it is, but it's almost as big, or it's bigger than the California banana slug. Unusual angles. So you can look at things from very close up and looking down at the level of the creature or at the level of the plant. And you can see the foreground, and you can pick up some of the background in the back. You can see the leaf litter and the forest. So that tells the story of its habitat. And again, here you've got two slugs here, banana slugs, in a very moist environment. Here, so this is a Fritillaria striata, and it is. I've taken a sequence, and this is an overexposed shot, and this is a shot with high HDR, high definition resolution. So I used the high HDR to brighten it a little bit, and this is what I used on. This is what I finally picked. So brighten up the dark, the original HDR frame. So this, somebody named this a Monet type flower shot. Here, a top view of the flower. You go right into the top, and you can take pictures of inside the flower. You can see the stigma, the anthers. Are there any hairs on them? You can see if there's any hairs on the calyxes or the bracts. So there's many details you can photograph with the ōlloclip super wide. This is one of the mushrooms on a very low angle side view. And again, this is straight at the one of the fairy bells, Smith's fairy bell. And here we're out in the Lassix, this is one of the rare lupinus. I think it's a new lupinus that they had ID'd. Anyways, so you've got two frames here. One is a bit further out and one more closer. So you can pick up different details, the habitat, the background, the foreground. And here again, another fairy bell. Really right in it, really close up. And here, Gary elliptica. These are all female. This is the female plant, and these are all the bubbles, the capsules that are dangling. And then a close-up of it, you can see all the pistillate flowers, or the pistillate, the dried up stigmas. And here you have the big berry manzanita again, and this shows a whole plant with the flowers with lots of blossoms, and you can do a closer up of one cluster of flowers, and then you can see the rest of the plant with all the rest of the flowers. So you have instead of just a shot that has tiny flowers, you can have a close-up cluster in the foreground, and then you have a sweeping background that kind of fades out into lots of flowers. So there's choices you can make on taking a photograph, and this one is a banana slug. Just as a lighthearted thing, is which end do you take, this end or this end? So detail plant parts for identification. So these are some of the detail parts you can take. These are adventitious roots off of a poison oak. And then this is a hazelnut. This is the male. The male catkin flowers. And here is the female flower of the hazelnut. And here's the fruit. This is one with a more overexposed, and then this is lightly more underexposed. And then here's the nut from a young nut of the hazelnut. And then side views, you want to pick up details like this gentian Newberia var Newberia out in Kangaroo Lake, out in the Trinity area. So it's this little crossed part of the flower that is your telltale keying. And this is oops. And that's the top view. You can see inside the flower. And then next to it, close by, was another gentiana, and it was calicosa. And you can see the difference in the flower. And here it is, close up. And you can see the leaves and the structure, if it's prostrate or not. Here's a comparison. Okay. This is Grindelia stricta out in Pescadero area, Pescadero Beach. So taking a picture of the flower, the habitat with the flower and the plant, the leaves, and also its leaves that is sessile, and also it's wrapped around the stem. So these are some of the parts that you can take close-up of. And here is Melica californica. So I took some home and I did it on my dining table of these close-up with the fisheye. And you can see quite a bit of detail. And this is one of the chalk dudleas that we have in our garden. So you can take a top view of the plant, a side view, and close up of the flower. This is sort of a close up, but I did a better close up. I went further in towards the flower, and this is the difference you get. So when you get closer, you notice the background is a little more fuzzier, where if you are further away the plant, the whole plant is a little more in focus. And this is the peduncle of the chalk dudleya. And this is using the macro 15 times enlargement. You can actually see the stomata. All these little dots, circles, are the stomata on the leaf of the chalk dudleya. So the macro is pretty good, but you've got to be very steady because, you know, with a little bit of movement, it does create a lot of blur. Here's it magnified with the keynote. And here is the Franciscan manzanita that we have in the garden. So I pulled out the flower and to expose the anther, the pollen, and the pistils. And this is what we have. And this was taken with the macro. And this is a crop picture on the keynote. So there's quite a bit of detail, but it's not as good because my hands were shaking. It wasn't a very good picture. And here it is, another one. And you can see the actual pollen sac, it's open and it's released its pollen. So when you do plant photography and you want to do comparison, luckily there were two astragalus side by side, two different species. The one in the foreground was Oxyphyrus, and the one behind it is Lentiginosus var nigricalicis. So you can see the two different plants, its habit, as well as you can see the ecology or the habitat it's in. This was out at Carrizo Plain by the KCL camping ground. Here it is on a different view on the back side. The two plants, again, you can do a plant comparison if you have two plants together. And here we have the astragalus, which is it's the lentiginosa. So anyway, here you have the full plant, you have the flower, and then here are the seed pods. You can actually see the hairs on the pods. That's how good the lens is. So, and I took one pod home and then I dissected it. And here's the black hair for the variety, nigricalicis. This is the black hair it has. And it's also two-chambered. And this was done with the macro lens. Some flowering plants, different views. You've got one that is kind of a little further away, and then you get a closer picture of the flower. You get some blurring on the leaves. And then you can have a top view of the flower, and then by focusing on the leaf area, you can see the leaf attachment. And that could be one of the key factors. Here, a side view of the Lithocarpus heterophylla. This part is square, where the other affinis, which is a V shape, I call it like a shape. So by taking side view, top view, different views of the plant, flowers, part, that's how you can use it for keying the plants. So here is a Anthorhinum multiflorum. And this one is white colored, where the majority of the population was kind of pinky purple. So I took the picture with the white with the pink one in the background to show different sports, or show different colors of the population. Here you can photograph quite close to show the fruit. This is the big berry manzanita, the fruit with the flower or with just the fruit. So different views. And you can see the leaf parts close up as well. And this is the Vaccinium ovatum. And this is the regular view with the super wide, and then I cropped this. And you can see that my hand was shaking. The lighting wasn't very bright, so it was so you could see my shake on a little bit out of focus. Here, a study of Calochortus, as we all love, is this is with the iPhone super wide. This is Calochortus vestae, and then the keying part is this double chevron. I finally figured out what a double chevron looks like. It looks like a mustache, actually. This is and this I took it with my Olympus camera. You can notice the depth of field is quite shallow, where the other one you've got more detail. And this has been blown up, so you can see it can take some cropping. And then here is the mustache, the double chevron. And calicoris is one of the hardest flowers I find it to take with the big digital camera, because the depth of field is really hard to control. It's very deep, the flowers, so when you have a very deep, a very large depth of focus you need to have in order to take all that, the interior, you end up with not a very good photograph if you don't have a tripod, or you're not doing focus stacking. So the iPhone does a pretty good job in getting most of the details for keying your plant. This is Calicoris suburbis ex luteus. It's a cross. And this is Calicoris splendens. You can see the hairs around the neck, above the nectaries. And this is Calicoris venustus, again with all the hairs and all the markings, and the bugs are in good detail. These are all cropped, so I've made it, I maximized the cropping so the detail still holds. And this is a comparison of the Calicoris venustus with the nectaries. Some have hairs and some don't. So is there a cross there somewhere, or is just one of those plus or minus, or with hair? Here is another invenustus, Calicoris invenustus. If you notice, there's not much hair in there, and one nearby has more hair, and then one nearby has a lot of hairs, and then nearby was actually Calicoris palmeri, if you notice. So there could be some crossbreeding there. So that's a nice detail study of Calicoris. And then we have the Calicoris clavatus variety, clavatus, the club-shaped hairs on the interior of the Calicoris. That's what gives its name. Here is a close-up and cropped picture of the fetid adyton, and you can actually see the texture of the leaves. And if that's one of the keying factors, you can actually are able to use it for keying. Here is a lupinus with I believe one of those butterflies that needs the lupin. And you can see actually the butterfly, the larvae, the caterpillar looks very fuzzy, and almost matches the flower, the new flower head of the lupinus, the lupin. And here are the ants nurturing the caterpillar. Oops. So I took a picture of this out in Edgewood, and we were doing some restoration, and the wind was blowing really hard, and the coyote brush was had a lot of seeds and was blowing everywhere. So I did a little I had a rake, and I kind of hit the coyote bush and let all the seeds fly all over the place, and I took some multiple quick snaps of trying to capture the seed flying in the air, as well as the picture of the plant. So that came out pretty good. I took like maybe about 10-15 photographs of that, and I picked this one. Looking at one of the California poppy, this one, if you look at the bottom, doesn't have a ring, so it's cespitosa. So you will have to, for keying, you need to look all over the plant to look at what what plant parts are missing, or the keys for leading you up to the plant name. So what about the views? So Ken is always saying, look, honey bear, look at that view. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the mosaic. Again, look at that, honey bear. So looking at your landscape and photographing the mosaics of the landscape tells a picture of what you're looking at and tells a story of your landscape. Here, this is the Himalaya. I included this. This is a semi-panoramic view. So I used the super wide on it, and I used the panoramic function to pan across the mountain range to capture this. The color, I didn't change much of the color. I just brightened it a little bit. I did not saturize it. So this is natural lighting as it was when we were there in 2019. And some more landscape photos. This is out in the Black Laziks. We were hiking up there last year in the summer. And you can see the serpentine mountain hillsides. These are all serpentinite. And if you look at the side here, you notice that there's some distortion. That's because probably I didn't put the lens on there properly. So you got to be careful about when you put the lens the lens over your camera, and you make sure that it's fitted right at the center of the camera lens. Here is Fritillaria glauca, I believe, the seed on top of Black Laziks, and you can see the background of the rest of the hill. It's quite magnificent. So this tells a story of its habitat. It's all in talus, serpentine talus, and then you can see the mountain, its surrounding area. This is out in Pulgus Ridge, so the trail side photos showing ferns. So it tells the view of the habitat that you're looking at. You've got stream views. You want to take a picture of the stream habitat. And also a bay view. This is up at Mount San Bruno. And this is a close-up or cropped. And then this is with the ōlloclip. This is a leptosiphon, and you can see that I'm trying to take a picture of the foreground with the flowers to show you what they are, and as it pans to the background, you've got the rest of the population showing. So it gives the viewer an idea of all these are of the same plant. So do you want to take a vertical view of your landscape, or you want to take a horizontal view of your landscape? So something to think about of what you're trying to show, or you want to take a wider landscape view. Here's the cluster of the Castanea, and you can see the rest of the landscape, what the habitat it's living in. And then there are even bigger views of bigger landscape. This is out in Carrizo Plain. Again, Carrizo Plain. This is where the purples are. People call it, where's the purples? Where's the yellows? And here it is. And here's a close. This is a panoramic view. This is a regular view with the super wide. And then this is a close up with the super wide of the white, with the white form. And then this is done on the iPhone with with the super wide, this is a picture out in Borneo, central Borneo, out in Indonesia, on one of the river trips we took, and the water was still as anything, and it was a mirror image of the landscape. So reflect. This is sort of coming to the end, reflecting on again what do we need to think about taking these pictures? How do we go about it? Is hold the camera steady. You got to focus, get the right focus. You got to compose your images with thought, with background, with the foreground, thinking about the lighting, trying different angles and views. And then here, a little reminder is holding it steady, get it focused, finding the light, and take multiple shots of different angles to get that one perfect shot. So to end this, hope you have fun and be safe when you go out there to take your photographs. And this is a few pictures of what we do when we're camping and photographing California. So next, what's next class? How about compiling photos into a video? So I have a short video here. It may be a bit slow. So that's the end. So I have an Instagram account. It's at Into Plants and Nature. I post a lot of my photos there. I'm also on Facebook with Dee Himes Photography. Check it out. So this brings to the end of the presentation, and I guess there is a Q&A. Shall I stop sharing?
Sure. There are lots of questions, Dee. That was fabulous. First off, I just want to let people know that we have some info in the chat. We put in how to subscribe to our newsletter and our website. And when you look down at the bottom of chat, there's at the very right hand, there's 3 dots. If you click on those, one of the things that you can do is save chat. So if there's something you want to save in the chat, everyone can do that. But let's go to some of the questions. Can you recommend how do you say that, ōlloclip or ōlloclip for the iPhone?
I just call it Olo.
ōlloclip. Sorry, I've been studying Spanish. ōlloclip for the iPhone SE.
So what was the question?
Can you recommend an ōlloclip for the iPhone SE? Doesn't that number?
Yeah, so ōlloclip is that's the brand itself. So what they do is probably the attachment is different. I'm not too. The SE is quite new. I haven't looked at any of the. I've just basically been looking at the things for the iPhone Pro Max model, because that's what I have now. So you can go on the website and look at their see what they've got for SE, and because the SE is positioned, the camera's positioned differently, the attachment is different. So they've got different attachments for different models, for Samsung, for Galaxy. But it's all on the webpage, and it's all categorized by the brand of camera that you have. I don't know what the price is. So you just, and they're on hiatus, which I was like so disappointed, because I wanted to order new lenses for the for my 12 Pro Max. I've lost, my this is what's left of my set. So I don't even have a lens cap on these things.
Sorry, I saw it on Walmart. That's what I'm the one that had the iPhone SE, and I hear it's like compatible, like having an iPhone 6 or a 7 or an 8.
Right.
So
So
curious.
you can with these days you can buy and you've got like 7 to 14 days to return it or something like that. You can always try it. I always try out things. If I don't like it, I always return it. So check the warranty, check the return policy, and see, just try multiple models.
And I think you already, answered this, that there are different sizes for different phones, and the clip has to match the brand and model of your phone, right?
Right.
Okay.
And other case makers also make different things. There's other models. I was looking into other models, but there were other brands, but they were very expensive, like Memento or something. I don't, I'm. It's like several $100s. I'm like, okay, that's not the point of buying such an expensive lens, because I have my own big digital camera already, and it's more of a cheap thrill for me to use the ōlloclip, but it's a good quality lens, I have to say.
So you might have already answered this, but since which lens do you use? 4-in-1? Does that refer to one of the Olo clip lenses?
I use the super wide. Oops, the super wide. That's what's left, and also this is. I can't move very well. Oh, and this is the oops, oh, disappearing. This is the macro lens.
Okay, so I just want to tell everyone that Dee is recovering from rotator cuff surgery. So thank you for giving us this presentation, even so.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
And
I can't
do
quite
you
move.
use lens 1 or lens 2 on iPhone 8 Plus?
I don't know what lens one or lens two is, but it's got a super wide and it's got a fisheye. I lost my fisheye recently. I lost it up in the Sierra. I dropped it. I So I've learned not to have my lens attached to the phone and put the phone in my back pocket while I'm out in the field. I've learned that lesson. So I actually detach it after I use it, and I've used it so much that it's broken already. I don't know if you can see it. It's broken. So I have to get new one for my 12 Pro Max, but I'm waiting for them to open up.
So another question, are these glass or plastic lenses?
I think they're glass. Yeah, they're glass. And I think on the presentation it showed on the box it says it's got has 4 layers of lenses or something like that. It tells you what the spec. If you go on their website, it'll tell you the product spec on what kind of material they use. But it is glass. It's kind of heavy.
Okay, another viewer mentioned that on the iPhone they shoot in photos in live mode, and you can edit from the many shots taken in burst mode. Do you use burst mode on the iPhone or not?
When I take action photos, especially for insects, runaway targets, I'll use the burst mode. I don't use the live mode because the live mode is actually a mini video clip, which makes it very hard to pull out that frame you want. You have to go to a third party to then do that, and that's such a so I always disengage my live view function.
And I think there's another question about specifying the lens, but you said you use the super wide, right? And the
Right.
question is that a macro lens?
So I've actually made it into a macro. What I do is I point it really, oh, where's my, so I make it really close. So I can get, oh, jeez, I can
You have
get
to, the problem is
like an,
you're disappearing into your background. You have to hold that stuff in front of your body.
yeah, okay. So I can get this lens to almost an inch to 2 inch. I can't remember, but really close to make it a macro. Um, so have you seen some of the photographs I just did on the first one of the hummingbird stage? That was done with the super wide, which is this, and it takes a very it's a pretty good close up. So I use it as a close up, as a wide angle. For panoramic, I can use this for panoramic. But when I have this attached to my phone and I try to use the zoom lens, it actually blacks out. It won't let you use the zoom lens with the ōlloclip. It automatically just blacks out. So I find the super wide is my go-to lens. My fish eye lens, I don't really miss it. After I lost it, it's like, okay, I don't really use that much, but I'm now starting to use this macro lens a bit more for very detailed, like anthers, stigmas, hairs. Now I know I can take stomatas with this. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so I think that answers some of the question about how you decide which lens to use. And so when you're using the ōlloclip lenses, to what extent do you move as close as the focus allows and then crop the photo closer afterwards?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
To what extent do you move as close as focus allows and then crop the photo closer afterwards?
Right. When I take a close-up picture of a flower, I get it to full frame. That's my closest. If it's a tiny plant, then I have to get closer. But if it's a big flower, like an inch, you don't have to get that closer. As long as you can get the picture to almost full frame or to as close as you can to focus. And if I still need to crop, I can crop. So it just depends on the size of your subject.
Okay, and there was another point asking if all those photos were on the iPhone, and it's 99%, right, were on your iPhone. You showed a few from Olympus as contrast from your
Yes,
Olympus, I guess, SLR.
yes. That's for comparison to see depth of field, the effects, what you can, how far you can take it between with the iPhone. I think,
I was
I
kind
think,
of interested to see that I thought many of the photos, when you compared the Olympus to photos to the ones from your iPhone, I thought the iPhone photos were better. I was surprised.
I'm, yeah, I'm finding that because the depth of field is such more greater on, especially for calocortis. That is so hard to photograph with a DSLR if you don't have a tripod when you're trying to get all the nectaries, the hairs, and then the markings, the rim of the petals. So I'm finding that the iPhone is pretty good. And I just recently saw David Attenborough on his new filming his new series. A lot of those macro shots he's taken of the ant hills were actually taken off from a cell phone camera lens that they had bought online and then hooked it up to their homemade camera body, and they're using that technology for their filming. I mean, their films are magnificent. I mean, they're extraordinary, clear, and in focus, very good quality. So I think that would be the future.
Okay. Um, can I ask my assistant to, there's a request to post the resources again. So if my assistant can do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Um, let's see, there is another question.
Yes, somebody asked about disengaging the live mode. The
Yeah.
live mode on. So, oh, I don't know if you can see. So, oh. It's my face. uh, so let me see. So live mode. Let me see. I don't know if you can see. The live mode is that little circle. I don't know if you can see. That circle there? No, that circle. This circle. So you can actually go to your camera setting and look for live. Let's see, where's the camera? Camera. Preserving settings. Live photos. Oh, can't see. And it says preserve live photo settings rather than automatically reset it to live photos turned on. So you actually have the live photo turn on, but you want it to turn on after you've turned off manually the live mode. It's really weird.
Well, I'm sure that you can Google
Yeah,
turning off live mode on iPhone
yeah,
and
yeah. They'll
search.
have videos on how to do it.
Yeah. That's what when I want to figure out something on my iPhone or my computer, that's what I do.
Yep.
Um, and another question is, how do you carry your ōlloclip and lenses when you're hiking? I heard you say sometimes in your back pocket, which is not good.
Yeah. So now there's this attachment. It comes with a little pocket with a carabiner. I've kind of like there's a carabiner. There's a carabiner that hooks up to it, and then I hook it up to my belt loop, and it just hooks up. It just hooks up to your belt loop, and I hang it on my belt loop, and I just take it on and off. The only problem with that is you end up wearing out the you wear out the clip, and it starts to break. So there is a lifespan to this thing. So I'm looking at a different version of the ōlloclip in terms of like a clip-on maybe. I'm not sure. I'm kind of doing some research on that right now. But they got to open. They're on hiatus. So it's too bad.
Okay, Arvind, are there any more questions from YouTube? I think you've been following them. I believe I've gotten most of the questions. There's a lot of, you should copy the chat, Dee. There's a lot of great comments about how much people enjoyed the chat. I mean,
Great.
enjoyed the
Thank
talk.
you.
And you've certainly encouraged me to stop being such a lazy photographer.
I'm a very lazy photographer, to tell you the truth. If I have to really think and calculate any mathematical distance or what, I forget it. That's why I don't even take my tripod out. I end up just carrying it for weight. So thank you everyone for your kind comments, and I'm here to inspire and here to share my love of photography and love of plants mostly. Is there any more question?
Let's see.
That was excellent. Thank you, Dee.
Oh, you're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
It's fabulous. I really enjoyed it, and I think you can follow Dee on Instagram and see more of her photos. Um,
Yep.
what should they search for on Instagram?
My handle, whatever you call it, is into the number two plants and nature. It was let's see.
Written out, Anne?
Yeah, let me see if I can copy that out of my presentation.
So, Dee, when's the next class on videos?
I don't know. I gotta fix my arm. I gotta recover. I've got class coming up. I've got so I'm also teaching Foothill College horticulture, planting and installation maintenance. That's my other side job. So if you go to Foothill College and look at the horticulture department or biology department, it's spring quarter, so I'll be teaching plant installation and maintenance, landscape maintenance.
Great.
So it'll be a 12 week class, it's quarter system. And you can take it as a, what do you call it, pass no pass, or if you do, you don't have to do it for grades. More than welcome to have everybody from CMPS join me, take the class.
So we've put all this stuff in the lower part of the chat if you came in later, so don't forget, you can right now go to the bottom where you type things in, look to your right, and click on those three dots to save the chat to your own computer.
Okay, I've saved the chat.
Okay.
Great.
So thank you very much, everyone. I think we'll let Dee go probably rest her shoulder. And we hope to see you next week for getting started with native plants.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, Dee.
Bye.
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 Thank you.